Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Wednesday, July 26th, 2023. While I'm away for a few days of vacation, you're seeing some devotionals from the archives. I looked at the devotionals that have been viewed the most, so today and for the next several days, you'll see the most popular devotionals based on the number of views each one has had. Today, a devotional on the first question of the Westminster Shorter Catechism. It first played on October 26, 2022. Ask most Christian believers what the goal of the Christian life is, and they'll likely respond almost automatically, salvation. But what if I told you that for us Reformed Christians, that's not the goal at all? It's true. And I hope to help you at least understand why, if not fully embrace it. Now, don't get me wrong, the salvation of our souls is important. It is one of the principal reasons we give thanks to God. But there are more important things than our individual salvation. I was reminded of this last Sunday when I was teaching our officers-elect. I was talking about our Reformed ethos, what it is that makes us relatively distinctive among Christian groups. It just so happens that one of the things that distinguishes us is our foundational belief that the most important thing in the life of faith is the glorification of God. One of my old seminary professors, the late John Leith, said in his book, Introduction to the Reformed Tradition, "The glory of God and His purposes in the world are more important than the salvation of one's soul." Human beings are religious, the Calvinist asserts, not to satisfy their own needs or to give meaning to their lives, but because God has created them and called them into His service. In fact, says Leith, and he's not alone in this, a single-minded focus on personal salvation is essentially a selfish exercise. His term. I might put it differently. A single-minded focus on our salvation means we are focused on ourselves first. But in our tradition, we focused first on God and what God is up to. If you think I'm being some way-out, crazy-eyed person, I'm simply representing what our tradition has believed for centuries. God, God's purposes, God's activity in the world, and God's glory, these things are our focus. It is why, for example, you don't hear a lot of sermons on salvation from our pulpit. Again, it's not that salvation is unimportant. It's just not what we focus on first of all. I am frequently drawn to the old Westminster Shorter Catechism, which many of you undoubtedly had to memorize if you grew up Presbyterian at a certain time. The first question and answer of that catechism is this: what is the chief end of man? And the answer? Man's chief end is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. Notice that the answer is not that man's chief end is to gain salvation. That would result in a life focused on self primarily. Instead, the answer points us first and foremost to the glory of God. It makes a difference. There used to be a question often put to ministry candidates many years ago in Presbyterian churches, which went something like this: are you willing to be damned for the glory of God? In other words, if my damnation to hell would serve God's glory, would I be willing to do that? As Leith points out, it was a bit of a pointed question to weed out any element of self-serving in the practice of the faith. A bit dramatic? Yes. But it gets to the point. Nothing else is as remotely important as God and what God's purposes are and glorifying God. Discovering God's way in the world and following it to God's glory is what we focus on. It's something to chew on as we get ready to celebrate Reformation Sunday this week. And now may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.